Good. So that sounded like a fair old discussion. Good. Lots of ideas flying around the room. Healthy sign. All right, and that's only week one. That's only week one. Think what you're going to say next week. Okay, so keep doing the research. We will revisit on Monday the computer room and be looking at the EBSCO database, and hopefully I've given the class list to the library and they've reset your passwords and we'll be able to get into that database and do that research there. Okay, so we're going to keep going with that.
That's your Facebook page.
That is, it's not quite, I've just created this group, I'll talk about that in a minute. Every course I create a group, Facebook group for you guys and me.
Okay, cool.
So all sorts of things happen there. We can exchange information. I can give you notification stuff. You can notify me about something. You're starting to learn about what topics people are doing. So, I was reading the advertisement in the library and I saw something on Port Augusta. You know, you're not doing Port Augusta, but you turn the group and those people who are, because it's more than one. You know, so you're the eyes and the ears, and this is a good thing for research. You can help each other. Just point people towards, share a link, some link in the advertiser about Port Augusta or about you know, the Great Barrier Reef, whatever. So that's one way we can use it. We can use it just for notifications, and I keep the group open and people continue to kind of socialise on it, and we put up graduation photos and, you know, all that kind of stuff. So it's there. Yeah, so I think it's better to ask the question, who's not on Facebook? Okay. Okay. And look, you know, there are some people are not on Facebook for various reasons. If the reason is, you know, security, identity or something, I would suggest you just create your identity. You know, you can be anybody, can't you? So you can be Belinda Banana, or, you know, Pineapple Pete, and put a big picture of a pineapple there, whatever. You be whoever you like on Facebook, but join the group somehow. Look, Facebook would be my most important source of news, like serious news and serious analysis of history, current affairs, politics, science, all the things I'm interested in. Sure, we can use it for, you know, all the kind of pictures of dogs and, you know, the beer I'm going to drink and all that sort of stuff. We can use it for all that light social stuff. But you can, it's like the telephone. You can use the telephone for anything, can't you? It's just it's just an instrument, and you decide how serious you want to be with it, how fun, or a mixture of both. But there is this kind of reputation around, you know, by some people, oh, you know, Facebook, it's just sort of light, it's junk. It's not actually. As I say, I'd read my 5 articles a day, absolutely, and most of those come through Facebook, and after a while you get to know which friends are posting really interesting and useful stuff and you like it, and of course that means they send more just automatically. It works like that, isn't it? So, yeah, amazing. Media revolution, really, to get detailed information. 80% of my current knowledge probably about stuff that's happened in the last 5 years would be through Facebook, and like serious knowledge of what's happening around the world globally in economics, politics, whatever. So, you know, you can certainly use it like that. Language issues as well. So, yeah, join that over the weekend, and hopefully you'll see that it's quite a useful resource.
Don't you work open this group in weekend?
It's already opened.
But it's closed. I can't find it.
It's closed, but I think I can change the setting, but it's not secret group, it's closed, which means you can find it. Can't find it, okay. I'll change it to open, and then hopefully you can. I'll do it in a few minutes. I'll do it in the break and then see if you find it after the break. Okay, so let's just get rid of that for a sec, because now I want to just talk about the essay and the progress with the essay.
Running out of battery.
Mine. There we go. just one thing before I forget. I just heard a bit of, Harley and I were talking about her topic, Northern Territory intervention, which happened in 2007. So that's 8 years ago. Just a general principle with essays at university, generally what they want are sources that are younger than 5 years. 5 years or younger. Alright? Now, that's a little bit tricky. Obviously, like I said yesterday, and you know, science and things, pretty much every field is changing rapidly, isn't it? So you've got stuff older than that, it's a bit out of date and often inaccurate. But some of that stuff is still accurate. And some of that, you may need to refer to a text that made a huge contribution to current knowledge and it's older. So this, we can be flexible with this. And for example, Northern Territory intervention happened in 2007 and you may want to, in your introduction, be explaining exactly what happened, and the best sources are those that were right there at the time, you know. So it's not an absolute rule, at least in here. Check with your lecturer if you go on to other courses. What is their rule about, let's get the term up, because it's a bit misleading, the term. Okay, what we're talking about is being current, having current information. So the noun is this, currency. And don't confuse it with money, that stuff we all love, right? It's the currency of information. So check with lecturers and so on about what they accept as their window of currency. So here in the diploma we interpret this with some flexibility, but you know, 80%, 90% of your material, try to work within this time frame. When we get into the database on Monday, you'll see you can set your time frame, if you like, to 5 years, and you just find articles or journals or whatever that are 5 years old or younger. So you can control this with some of your research instruments sometimes. Okay, let's look at the road ahead to the D-Day. 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 Why D-Day? That's a good get. Death Day, right. Here's a little bit where, here's a good example of language and culture. If someone could say, it's D-Day for me on Monday, and that could mean like I've got a job interview, or I've got an exam, or I've got an essay to hand up, some big moment that's really critical. This is 1944, June 1944, when the Americans and the British invade France. And that day, that morning when they land on Omaha Beach and so on, that's D-Day. So obviously it's a huge critical moment where it's win or lose, So there's an example of historical, cultural, historical thing affecting language, isn't it, and creating metaphors. And there are thousands of these, and this is just another example where cultural knowledge helps you get to that final level 5 English. So keep developing your cultural knowledge. Okay, we are in week 3. We're here on the Friday, just before week 4. So we've got 2 more weeks of research. On every Friday, concept map. We're gonna check in with each other with this concept map. Bring it along each Friday. Have it as you research, and it's not, you probably have other piles of notes, but your main ideas and the kind of landscape and the map of where you're going, if you find a major new branch of ideas, put it on your map. Certainly Thursday night, reflect back on your week, look at your map, grow it, develop it, bring it along, ready to talk about what you've added. And so we've got that, we've had week 1 of research, week 2, week 3. End of research. So there's only 2 more weeks to go, time flies. So this is really, you know, as I said, I'm not going to formally set homework. This is absolutely a major homework question, which of course is going to be developing your reading. And if you're listening to Radio National piece or something, television piece, YouTube, interviews, TV, whatever, this is all useful. Not all useful, sorry, provided the source is reputable. And you've got to decide kind of independently about that, don't you? I mean, academic people with a background in the field, clearly, people possibly selected by high quality reporters, you know, that's going to be a guide as to reputation. Are they from an organisation that has a reputation? You may have to do a bit of searching about the background of the organisation. Some organisations are very biased left and right. That's okay. Use the material to indicate position and so on in the debate, you know. Because you probably fall on one side or the other. But yeah, so my point is audio-visual material can certainly be used, provided it's a reputable source. In other words, the form doesn't matter, it's the quality that counts. Don't worry about how you reference it. We're going to, probably about here, go through the rules of referencing and pretty much anything you can reference these days, even a private conversation with someone. You know, Professor Spinks has done some tests with x-rays in her laboratory, and she hasn't published yet, but this is relevant to you. You ring her up, da-da-da. Oh yeah, sorry, all my rats died. You know, the experiment was a failure. Right. It's called a personal communication, Spinks 2015, you have to put the date, August the 20th, etc. So everything you can reference. So don't worry about that at the moment, just record the things I mentioned to record yesterday. So we'll do that. But anyway, we've got 2 weeks of research, then 1 week. At the end of that point, you've got your map fully developed. What we're then going to do is do the work on sequencing. Like, okay, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 main areas, and as I explained before, and you've already done, A, B, C, D. Forget that point, you know. Get your sequence, now you know what you want to write. The first draft, let's write it really fast. Speed is kind of useful. Just knock it out. Bash it out. I'm trying to use slang here to sort of give you the feeling of just relax and let it happen. Throw it out there. You filled your brain with 3 weeks worth of information and ideas. Just go for it. Let it happen. Because good writing develops through drafting. A draft is, you throw it out electronically, of course. Type. Do it even in a couple of days, if you can. And then look at it again. Oh, I should have mentioned this here. Oh, this paragraph's in the wrong position. That bit I don't want anymore. That's a terrible expression, I know, but I can't think of anything else. I'll leave it there for now. You know, all that sort of stuff. Reviewing. Now we're going to do some collective reviewing at this point. So a week, and hopefully you review a few times yourself. But by this time, we're going to swap drafts. And we're not going to look at language, we're going to look at overall meaning and overall structure. Because if the logic's wrong and that paragraph just shouldn't even be there, let's take it out, you know, it just doesn't work. Why go through and analyse the grammar and the spelling? There's no point, is there? So the first thing you always do is your overall structure and your overall meaning and the logic and the rules of evidence and so on. So we need to do a fair bit of critical thinking practice here. So we're ready to use some of these tools to analyse the ideas, basically looking at ideas and evidence, strength and logic, okay? Okay, you'll get feedback from a partner. That next Friday, we go to language, editing for language, editing for grammar, spelling. I'll write lists of all the things that you should be thinking about when you're looking at each other's work. After the weekend, we look at referencing. Again, through here, we're going to explore the rules of referencing. You'll get a fair idea about what they are. We'll be then putting them into practice with each other. So by this stage, you'll need to have all your in-text references, the references in the body of the essay, and you'll need to have your reference list. And you'll swap those, and people will get out their guides and check, and an hour's discussion. We'll have about an hour for each of these exchanges. And we'll have one last edit before D-Day. Look at the whole package, and just give it to somebody else to read. What can you see there? What bugs are there that we might iron out? Little phrasal verb, slang phrasal verb. You iron out the bugs. So each stage you'll be ironing out bugs, but in different ways. Ideas, language, referencing bugs, but finally just a general consideration. Now they will be the formal moments in the class. I would encourage you on the other days, because I'm just marking Monday and Friday there, and perhaps even before we start, whenever, throughout, if you want to get with somebody else after the class, Wednesday morning, have some lunch, get together at 2 o'clock in the library and go through each other's piece and edit and swap and, on any of those, in any of those areas, all of them, I'd absolutely encourage you to do that. If you're going to study next year or you're going to work in a professional environment and you're writing, the most important resource you can have is another human resource. And that may, some people pay people to not write essays for them. You can't do that, of course. That's illegal and, that's plagiarism. But in terms of editing and polishing language, that's fine and people do that. But it's better to find somebody who's doing the same course as you, or some friend you can swap some sort of service with or whatever, and have a kind of learning human resource partner. It could be somebody you get to know at work, and sure, they know that you've got language issues, and they might too. They might be a non-English background person themselves, or they are a background person, but you've just developed a good relationship with them, and you've got a few emails or a short report or whatever, and you get to the point they can assist you or whatever. That is, a hugely important resource. If you go on to study, somebody else who's having difficulty, but at your kind of level, your level is good enough, really good, to be an editor for somebody else. Now, it means you're not going to pick up every mistake, but if you pick up, say, even 30% of that person's mistake and they pick up 30% of yours in an exchange, that's lifted the quality, hasn't it? And you find maybe somebody else and they find a few other things here and there. Different eyes see different things. It could be family members, friends, outside the course, whatever, but it's really important that you find such people and get those exchanges happening. And that's kind of what we're practicing in here as a strategy, and hopefully you turn it into a habit wherever you go, whatever you do. And obviously after a time, you're not going to need it anymore. So, that's the plan. Any questions about it? Not a bad idea to either draw that or take a photo of it or something, so I better take a photo because I haven't actually written it down anywhere. We've got these dates, which are important, but the other ones are kind of going to be important intermediate steps. So I'm going to record myself.
And explores the benefits of a new approach.
All right, if we're clear on that, we can talk about our next activity. Which is, after the break, we're going to do our first major piece of writing, because I haven't really got a longish piece off anyone yet. And we're going to look at the Adam Goodes topic, as I mentioned. You've all got your concept map about Adam Goodes. We will break and come back at 25 past, and we're going to have an hour and a half to write. But we're aiming at 300 words. it's not an assessment, you know. I'm just getting your first piece of work, so it'll give me an idea of what you can and can't do, and the stuff I gather from it will turn into a few grammar lessons, you know, depending on what the dominant problems are, etc. And I'll get it back to you, you know, early or mid next week, and we'll start using certain methods of how we analyse our own performance. But we're also practicing getting ready for the final writing assessment. So we're kind of going to do it under assessment conditions. And I just want to talk for 5 minutes about that.
What about those students who were not in the class and are not full of information of the
Yeah, well, I won't get their piece. They could perhaps write it at home. You know.
What is the question?
The question is Adam Goodes and your position. What? But as simple as this: what do you think of the Adam Goodes issue? You know. Okay. Now, so your opinion on the whole Adam Goodes issue. I'll leave it really open-ended like that, and you can focus on any aspect you like. Is the booing racist? What should we do? You know, I'll leave that to you because I don't want to narrow it down. Not our first piece. Okay, look, the main point of it, the main thing I want you to do today is, if we divide it up into 3 lots of 30 at 30 minutes, we got 90 minutes. So your first 30 you'll be writing, and I would say, what I'd like you to try to do is in those 15, by 45, can you write the whole thing quickly in 45 minutes? That's your aim, because this is going to be editing. It's a bit like this. Look, you write it quickly, and then good quality comes from reflecting on it and writing and, you know, rewriting and correcting. It doesn't mean you write the whole thing out again. I'll give you pieces of paper, and I would like you, just blank A4, it won't have lines on it. You can use your own paper if you like. But what I want you to do, put your title, write, misalign, right, misalign, or an imaginary line, right, right. My point is, leave lots of space. Because once that time is up and you edit, you might think, oh, that's terrible. You know, I want to say that. You've got lots of space to do it. Okay, it's what we call double spacing. So with all your writing in here, whether you hand it up to me from electronic source or handwritten, double space your writing, because it helps editing hugely. It helps your editing, helps my marking. It also creates the psychological feeling. There's a lot of space there, I can change it if necessary. And that's important. Writing never is perfect first time. It's drafting and drafting and drafting that makes it good. So, try to write as quickly as you can and then edit. I'm going to kind of jump up and tell people when we're at this point. In the actual final assessment, you'll get even longer. You'll get another 30. You'll get 2 hours to write that amount. That's a lot. That's a lot more than you'll get in a normal exam. But the point of that is, because what we're going to do is we're going to have probably an hour for draft and a whole hour just for editing. By the end of the course, you'll be editing hopefully 5 times. Meaning and structure, then vocabulary, then whatever your top 3 errors are, you will edit, like say, articles. You'll just be looking at nouns and checking articles. If it's verb tense, you'll just be looking at all the verbs and checking the tense. If it's prepositions, you'll be looking at all your prepositions. So in other words, we don't edit generally, oh, what's the problem? We edit very specifically, depending on your particular individual profile, your language profile, which we talked about last week. Yeah? But we'll slowly get better at this and refine the practice and get sharper. But at this point, I just want to introduce this idea of leaving about half the time for this reviewing. What are the things I want you to look for? Obviously, grammar, But I also want you to practice. There are lots of things to be thinking of course. All the essay structure stuff we've talked about. So in your first 45, can you write a quick intro and you get a thesis statement? You know, you might have 3 paragraphs, you might have 4, whatever. Can you get a good, I'm just going to abbreviate it, topic sentence, conclusion, have you got recommendations, have you got implications? You know, we've done other things, but you know, just first time, think about those basic things, try to get them into your piece as you're writing. So there's enough to think about. This may stretch out with all of this thinking, it may stretch out to here, you know, but at least half an hour you need to leave for editing and looking at your piece and thinking, have I got all of these, and oh no, the topic sentence isn't right, so changing that and so on. You know? Rather than, what often happens is 90 minutes, okay, write. Be very careful as we write and then finish, you know, stop writing at the end. And really you haven't done any of that editing, have you? You haven't lifted it through progressive reviewing, which is incredibly important. Yeah. So let's break so that you do have the time for that. We'll have a break, we'll come back at 1:30 and we'll get into it. See you then. So go to the cafe, make sure it's double strength coffee. See you then.